Hey everybody, it's LavenderTowne, and today I'm talking about the worst webcomic on the internet. And which one is that, you may be asking? It's the one that I made when I was 15. Now, I'm a big advocate for artists looking back on their old work and trying not to cringe, just being grateful to their younger self for getting them to where they are now. But if I'm being totally honest, I still get really embarrassed and cringe at my old work sometimes. To remedy this, I'm going to redesign the characters, rewrite the core story, make new environment art, and generally set it up like I was going to remake this with everything I know now. Unfortunately for me, before I do this, I must also do a dramatic reading of the first few pages so you guys know what we're working with. I always hoped my death would be epic. Unicorn slaughter. Ugh. But actually, it was more like this. And so, I found myself floating through what looked like outer space. I felt like I was going somewhere in particular. Then he showed up. Ow, sorry man, did I run into you? Who the are you? Gibberish, gibberish, strangely in the Greek alphabet, gibberish. Gibberish, 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 gibberish. Dude, wait, I don't know what you're... Alright, I'll speak your imbecilic language. You have no idea what you've done altering my flight path. I swear I'm gonna... What the hell kind of face is that? Are you really a guy? I didn't even hurt you yet. Whatever. Do you at least know where we are? I can tell you that. You're in limbo, guys. Now GTFO, please, lol. What? Lols, JK. Seriously though, you guys are totally not supposed to be here, lols. What? God, I can't freaking do this. You guys collided going in opposite directions, so who knows where you're supposed to be. I can't just let you stay here. So where are we gonna go? Straight to hell. What? Why can't we wait in heaven or Valhalla or anywhere else? Mr. Satan owes me a favor, and he's most lenient about who he lets in. Bye! So I guess we're in this together, huh? Don't worry, man. It's only temporary. We'll end up where we should. Right, that's kind of what I'm worried about. Oh, you think you're going to hell? Come on, man. You're nice deep down, I'm sure. No, you are stupid. That hurt! So sorry to hear that. The gasp. But whilst I am sure that your trip was less than pleasant, I am haunted by the feeling that that is the point. The story goes on to be kind of a mush of various different things. I could never really determine where the story was going because I never really planned it ahead, and I always just had a loose idea of where I wanted things to end up. So yeah, I'd really like to remake this. To get this project going, I'm going to be using Milanotes. We have a lot of redesigning and script doctoring to do, and this application will hold all the mood boards, notes, and images I need in one place. They are also the sponsor, so a big thank you to them. So first things first, I wanted to put together this main board to hold all the pieces together. I put in the old banner art for Coleslaw that I originally made back in the day. I originally hosted it on a website called Smack Jews, which is completely defunct at this point, but people used to put up comics on there. I also made a to-do list. Anybody who's seen my VTuber video knows how much I love a to-do list, and honestly, I really need them if I'm going to be doing a project that is complicated like this one. This is nice because as you're working, you can check things off. So for example, I've actually already read through the pages, so you can just check that. And if I need to add anything, you just press enter and you can add a new task. After that, I wanted to do a little scribble of the main character where I can write in notes or draw in ideas, so I just drew it directly here on this sketch element. Really easy, so you can just like add in notes like right with your pen, which is nice. So it can be like, looks sad. And you can just add it right in. They have an undo and all of that. You can erase stuff. It's really easy. I like that as somebody who obviously draws all the time. It's super easy to just like add in. So like if you want to draw a quick little sketch or a little note, you can do that quite easily right here. So over here I have this column, and this holds all of my references and inspiration. At the top, of course, I needed to collect some of the old pages and imagery from the original comic, so we have a foundation to build on. I drew about 70 pages of Coleslaw back in my teen years, so I just collected some of the most relevant pages to hold in here. You can see I've got some of the ones in color. I have the old cover, like the whole old cover. And I just wanted to keep in any of the parts that felt super relevant or showed like interesting stylistic things, like how I shaded his face in here. I also made a little mood board. This is one of the most fun parts for me. It's a nice low pressure way to get your creativity going before you start actually writing or drawing. I'm going to put another picture in here. You can really just do anything that you feel like is going to match the energy. You can just drag it in. I'm going to remove this, of course, because it doesn't have anything to do with this project. Another thing you can do if you haven't collected up a bunch of images on your computer or whatever is you can use the Milanote web clipper. So I'm actually just going to click on this button here. It's a browser extension you can add to your browser. And I'm going to click save. And then I can select my mood board, say save to mood board. And then when I go back over here, you'll see that it's ready for us right here. It's unsorted. We can just drag it in. And it comes with a little source, which is great. We can shrink it down, change where it's placed. And yeah, it's super simple. So yeah, if you want to quickly put together a mood board, this is a really easy way to do it. I'm using this for comic planning, but it works for any big creative project. Milanote has over 100 built-in templates available, so there is a lot of flexibility. For example, I'm using the project plan for my next comic project. I can't show you that one actually because it's full of spoilers, but it is helping so much with getting all my loose ideas in order. The mood board is probably my second favorite template. It's just so image focused, so it's really good for visual art, of course. I really like how their template system works because while they have all these like sample images and text and everything to show you how this is actually supposed to be used, when you actually say like use this template, it all clears and goes away unless you specifically ask it not to. And I find that that really helps me like visualize how my stuff is going to go in there without actually making me like take all that old stuff away or like the samples. That's something I really appreciate. If you're working with a team or even just want to show a friend your work, you can work together in real time. You can also add comments like this, see? It's really cute. You can kind of place them wherever and you write in whatever you want to say. So you put in your comment, you send it, and people can leave replies. It says when it was left. You can edit your comments and you can kind of place them wherever. Like they're really just another element of the board. So this would be so useful with any sort of group project. I'm definitely going to use this feature a lot, like in a game jam, every second counts, so it will save a lot of time. Next time I do a game jam, definitely going to use Milanote. If you guys need help starting or organizing your dream project, Milanote is free. There's a link in the description, so give it a try. I warn you though, you might get obsessed with the mood boards. I know I did. So now that we're actually starting the redesign, I think it makes the most sense to start with redesigning Cole, the main character of the original webcomic. That is short for coleslaw, which is where the title comes from, but I actually don't remember why I thought that would be a good name for my webcomic. Nevertheless, this is going to also establish the new art style, so I experimented a little bit before settling into this somewhat more stylized and chunkier art style. I think a lot of people assume that my permanent art style is the one that I drew Unfamiliar in, but I actually developed that art style specifically to make Unfamiliar. I thought that the rubber noodly arms really fit with the story I wanted to tell, and I wanted it to be sort of like funny and squishy looking. I kind of develop a slight alteration on my art style for every project, and I wanted to treat this as if I was really going to make it, so I developed a slightly altered style for this as well. It's generally much chunkier and is way more dramatic in its proportion shifts. In the original Coleslaw webcomic, you can tell I really want it to look like manga. That was my primary inspiration. I did definitely have some inspiration also with like Jonas Vasquez and like Invader Zim type art style, but the dominant like deciding factor of how the faces and the bodies were drawn was based on manga and anime. At this point, it was probably mainly Soul Eater, and I see that in some of the art in the original pages. I generally kept his outfit very similar. I wanted him to be the most samey to his original, but I think he looks way cuter with this heavier stylization, and I also gave him bigger wings and a bigger halo to make his angelic nature a bit more important. I'm putting it into the little character design section, and I just sampled his main color palette. I'm going to do this for Vodka as well. The lavender and yellow accents definitely make it feel more modern to me, whereas that cold digital blue with very little other accents feels very dated at this point, so I'm glad I switched it. Next up, of course, is the foil to Cole, and that is a character named Vodka. Now, if you were playing Edgy Teen OC Bingo at home, you would probably get a bingo with this character alone. He's got devil horns, he's misunderstood, he's the son of the devil, he's Russian for some reason, and generally he's just like an edgy, misunderstood, misanthropic punk character. And of course, he was supposed to fall in love with Cole during the webcomic, but I never actually got to that part because I only drew like 70 pages. He definitely has a weird style. Like the way that I drew him, I feel like I thought was coming off kind of different, but is it just me, or in this main image, does he kind of look like he's dressed like a waiter? He definitely was supposed to have some inspiration from some like edgy Harajuku styles and stuff like that, but I don't think it was really coming across. So I decided to make some key changes to both his clothes as well as his hair. For some reason, I just was not vibing with his hat anymore, so I did take it off. That'll allow us to see where his horns connect. Lately, I've been liking these like sort of backwards, more like goat-like horns, so that's what I gave him near his hairline. And I'm also giving him a little spiky ponytail. I feel like it makes his silhouette of his head a lot more interesting. And I also want to make sure that his overall shape language is a lot spikier and more angular than Cole's, even though the whole art style is spikier in general. I also really wanted to make his bright neon lime green hair the biggest like pop of color on his design, so I made sure that every other color kind of exists to support it. Also, I definitely had the make every OC pale and skinny disease, so I did change his skin tone so that he has dark skin and light hair, whereas Cole has light skin and dark hair. I think it makes them look really good when they're standing together. Vodka's new design has the color palette of a Venus flytrap, and I really wanted that to be a core like symbol in the new version of Coleslaw, so I was really happy with how that turned out. Before I moved on to props and environments, I did want to do a little sketch concepting of another character that we see early on in Coleslaw, and that is the girl who is running Limbo. Now, again, she is just like an amalgamation of stuff that I thought was cool at the time. That was kind of how my creativity worked. I was very much just a collage of all my influences. She has a face that looks very similar to Noodle from Gorillaz because I was obsessed with Noodle from Gorillaz. And she talks in like Leet speak. I do like the font that I chose for her. Like, I think it's kind of cute. But yeah, I don't totally mind that, but it doesn't make a lot of sense. It's definitely just meant to be like cool and fun, which is fine. But for my new version, I think I would lean into this idea of like the limbo of infants, which I believe is a Catholic concept. It's a place where infants go before they've committed any sins, but they aren't forgiven of original sin, something like that. So I thought it would be funny if she was literally like a baby and she's the one who is sending them to hell. Yeah, so that was kind of my new idea for her as a character. I also wanted to do a quick sketch of them like interacting or like being on the same page. In the comic, I definitely wanted their relationship to turn into one where Vodka was kind of like protecting Cole. Cole as an angel is like a hot commodity in hell. At least that was my concept. It was like he was going to be like poached for like his wings and his halo and stuff, and Vodka was going to have to protect him. I don't think I ever like clarified why Vodka would do this or like really develop their relationship, but obviously if I was going to remake this, I would make sure that his role as his sort of like hesitant protector and bodyguard would turn into something more friendly and then maybe more affectionate in general. I definitely want to do some location and prop redesigning. I think this is critical, so I added it to the to-do list. The first named prop that I noticed was the Wrath Sword. I think in this moment when I was drawing this page, I definitely thought there was going to be like a arsenal of weaponry that all pertain to a different deadly sin, which is a really cool idea that I didn't expand on at all. But it looks really boring and very easy to draw. Like, it's basically just a black scribble with no details whatsoever. I think it looked okay for what it was in the time, but for the redesign of it, I don't want to make it too overly complicated, but I definitely want it to kind of play into the name. So I made it have actual like thorns on the hilt so that the person who is holding it is also in pain, because I think the idea that like wrath also hurts the person who is angry really makes sense with the whole concept. I also made sure it had this like very wrathful like fish hook design so that if it was stabbed into someone, it would have like this very cruel ripping mechanism. There was another prominent prop that only showed up once, but I think it was my first attempt at actually like making the prop central in the panel. You know, there's not another character in the panel, and it's this mask that was supposed to look like a plague mask, but it was also going to be like a gas mask that would protect you from some kind of like desert of poison gas. Again, this was something like I threw out trying to set up. I would do this a lot where I was sort of battling with my past and future self as I was working on the webcomic because I never planned anything. So I would try to leave little hints for myself about the ideas that I had at the time for me to pick up on and continue with later in the comic, but I would never actually do it. So like this gas mask never really came up again. It was not clear that they were even hunting for it in future pages. It got dropped completely, but here's my new design for it. I tried to make it look a little more hellish and terrifying. I have these teeth and this like inflamed gum kind of underneath, as well as changing up the shroud a little. I think it looks a lot cooler. The next prop I wanted to redesign is actually the button that the Limbo Girl presses to send them both to hell. This is right at the start of the story, so I think it's really important, especially in the early parts of your comic, to be impressing people and putting in a lot of effort. And this button just looks like, it's like a Simpsons prop, you know? It's not really designed to be interesting in any way, so I thought it would be fun to completely redesign it. It almost looks a little like a tarot card, which I think is so cute, especially with the colors I add in later. And instead of a button, I made it a twist because the button doesn't really make sense, right? She's deciding between two options, like heaven or hell, so it shouldn't be just a button. So yeah, I redesigned it. I think it looks super cute, and it didn't take very long to make, so it really does make me remember that like a little extra effort in these small details can improve your comic a lot and actually make it feel more relaxing when you're actually drawing the pages. Now, if props were a challenge for 15-year-old me, backgrounds and environments were like my kryptonite. I just hated making them. I didn't even like thinking about them, and they seemed so irrelevant, like just this annoying chore I had to do behind the characters who actually mattered. I think going to art school really helped me get out of this mindset. Like, I knew logically it wasn't true, but it wasn't until I actually like experimented with environments and saw how fun and stylized they could be that I really started to appreciate them for how much they can add to the story. So I decided that my version of hell would have these beautiful marbled rock formations. I have some images of them in my mood board section. I also did a really rough planning sketch for how I would want the hotel room to look. I think this is probably the best environment that I actually made in the original comic, but I just wanted to throw down some ideas to sort of bring these environments together. Every environment that I drew in the original comic of Coleslaw does not look like they go in the same world, so I wanted the big picture windows to show the outside. And then I really wanted to redraw Limbo, especially with my new idea of it being the infant's limbo with all the babies sort of hanging out and rolling around together. I wanted it to be really floaty and have this like overall atmosphere of like wind and, you know, things are temporary and you're just sort of floating around and you can see the beautiful constellations in the sky. They're very rough sketches, but they would definitely help me if I was drawing this comic again. I wrote in some little notes underneath some of the environment sketches just so I wouldn't forget them. It was the most painful part about drawing new pages for Coleslaw because I was constantly like thinking of good ideas and then forgetting them by the time I was drawing the next page. So I definitely want to document everything. The last thing I wanted to do is really think about the new story. And while I'm typing that out, I'm also having footage of me drawing a new cover. Not a completed new cover, but like a thumbnail or concept. So my main story changes are just that I'm removing a bunch of erroneous stuff that wasn't really moving the story forward. I added and subtracted story beats practically every single page, so things like the serial killer subplot and that sort of thing just doesn't seem like it really needs to stay in. I really want to focus on them in sort of a Dante's Inferno style story where they're going through the different rings of hell, so they can ultimately reach the gate and plead their case. I like the idea that throughout the story, that Vodka will be doing many selfless and kind things to protect Cole, and Cole will see that Vodka actually has a good heart and deserves to be let in. So when Cole is let in and Vodka is not, Cole abandons the entire thing and they run away together to go live in limbo and essentially be afterlife outlaws. So here's all the art and sketches I made in this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this walk down memory lane with me. Thank you again to the sponsor, Millinote. I absolutely love their organizational tools. Definitely tag me if you end up doing this with any of your childhood projects, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much to my wonderful patrons, including Colorful Ambitions, Aaron, Viet, Raccoon Jam, Grexius, Olia, Brandon Stark, CB, Lucy Amajiki, Liv, Salty Jackrabbit, Ravenscrow, Zocelot, Teal Music, Jabber Dabber Doo, Kadaria, Deadly Nightshade Art, Astrofox Art, The Expressive Poker Face, Tsubaki, Cutie Pie, Kola, JJ Jade, and of course, Blah 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 Blah.